Shalom, Mishpaka. Today I will do the second half of my testimony. And before I get started and explain to you my story, I want to give all esteem to Yahuah, Kal Kabadu Yahuah, because this is truly what this is all about. How he chose me and found me, and I answered the call to walk with him. So I want to first give him esteem for everything and ask that his Ruach HaKodesh would be here with me to help me with delivering this word. Let it be so. And I welcome each and every one of you. And I hope and pray that this will speak and help many of you along this journey, and that it would be edifying to you. So with that being said, I will open up my screen and start. Welcome everyone. I have so much in this section that I've prepared, the second half of my testimony. It's going to take quite a while to get through this, but I think I will be able to do it in a timely manner. I'm going to reference some scriptures as I'm going through my story. And there are some areas where I will give detail, and it's going to be, there will be some areas where I can't give full detail because of what Yahuah will allow me to disclose, right? And show. And I want to be respectful and try to do what he would want me to do. And that is why I want to speak with his words, coming from me. So with that being said, what I'm going to do is start with where I left off in the last video. Was I was talking about how Yahusha had come into my life. And I will do a summary of that right now because I want people to understand that right there is the most important part of this whole thing. How he came into my life and changed me and healed me and set me free. So I will do that now and just let you know how that happened. When I was in Hawaii in 2020, I had been witnessing all of this, all of these things that were happening on the media during the COVID time. And I was searching and reading, and he was showing me so much. And I was just amazed at how many, lies were happening and how many things were happening out in this Aretz, this world. And I just felt like everything was a big lie. And, I basically was not in fear of the things that were coming upon the world. But I knew more and more that I needed to have a relationship with the Most High. And so how I was awakened was I was in my kitchen, and after having this massive migraine for a few days, I believe, I just basically gave up, and I was in my kitchen, and I raised up my hands, and I just called upon Yahusha and spoke to him in Palal in prayer, and just asked that he would come into my life and that he would help me to understand what I was seeing and what was going on. And I had been convicted to tell him that there was things that I, was sorry for. I was convicted that I was needed to repent of. And I had been through so many things in my life with my family and with my divorce and all these things. And so I was just weak in that time because I was so in pain from this headache. And so as I was praying, everyone, I remember feeling real quickly this tingly feeling all down my neck, the back of my head. And as I was praying, I remember feeling that this pain that I had completely was taken away. And it was so quick and so amazing. As I was praying, I hadn't even finished my prayer, and this happened to me while I was standing up calling on the name of Yahusha. And I started tearing up and crying, and just the mercy of the Ruach HaKodesh and the Most High fell upon me. I believe through Yahushua HaMashiach, I was delivered. I was delivered from, the ways of the old man, right? And I started to feel like this overwhelming feeling of just sadness, or at the same time, it was kind of joy. And I remember crying and just weeping. And I sat on my couch after I was getting this drink of water. And I remember just weeping and crying and feeling so low. But at the same time, I remember feeling this joy, this feeling of happiness, because I knew that I was healed. And it was so amazing. I felt it so strong. And I remember telling this story so many times after, in this year and the years ahead. And I would just, get emotional every time I told this story, because it was so real and it was so amazing. What was amazing was I was sitting on my couch, and I couldn't talk. I couldn't do anything. I was just feeling his presence. The Ruach HaKodesh had just came upon me so strongly. And my girlfriend at the time, which lived with me after my divorce, came home from her first job, in between her first job and her second job, and saw me there and was wondering what was going on with me. And so it took me a while to get this out to her. I couldn't even speak. I was so uh, like emotional from what had just happened, that I wasn't able to even speak. It was like, when a child gets chastised, and the child is so in tears that they can't even speak. That's how I felt. And I finally was able to tell her, I think 10, 15 minutes later, I told her, I said, hey, those migraines that I had before, I said, I had one again, and I haven't been able to get rid of it. And she said, yeah, I know you've been struggling with those the last few days or whatever. And I told her that I was healed of it. I told her that I had an encounter with the Most High and I was healed. And she was like, wow, so amazing. And I felt vulnerable. I was so in tears, There was no one around, but it was just me until she came, back from work. So this started everything, everyone. When you're when we are touched by him and we are renewed, this is when it really starts. This is when uh, everything starts to change in your life, and that's what happened to me. Uh, I feel that Yahusha came into my life and just uh, started convict. I was starting to be convicted of things that I needed to change and do. All the sin and all the hatah, the transgressions that I had done, um, and I'm going to talk about some of those things because what happened really was after I was saved, I feel, or being saved, the beginning of being saved, because we're still doing it. We're still supposed to endure to the end, right? I basically was, convicted in those times to stop looking at certain things on the internet, which were like women and things and Instagram. And I had addictions, like a lot of men do. And I was just doing things that were unclean. And I got rid of my TV. And even months later, I even felt convicted to get rid of my cell phone. I was uh, just so disgusted by the world and all the the media lies of the pandemic and all these things that were happening that I just basically was like, you know what? I don't want to watch TV or news anymore. This is all craziness in this world that's happening. But he had opened my eyes so much that I started only wanting to study his word and to read his word. And ultimately, what he helped me to do was start unplugging from the world, the system of things and idols. He removed my idols from me. And he's still doing that to this day. I ended up getting a flip phone, you know, so I wasn't texting a lot of people because it was really hard. And I just, I realized that I was spending too much time on my phone. So I was willing to do that for him, right? And it was great because I had my own business at my house, my own cabinet shop, and he just was spending so much time with me and showing me so much in his word. I started to get revelations that he was giving me. I started to get understanding, right? And at the time that I was learning from him, I was also things were also being removed from my life, right? And it was like a washing. I was being washed, right? Like I said, the TV, the phone, the unclean food, idols of different images. I had little statues or little things in my house I got rid of. Even photos at one point of all the photos I had of family and everything. Anything that I thought was needing to get rid of or just taking out of my sight. Even started changing the way I dressed because certain logos and things I thought were evil. And just so many things happened to me after I came to having that experience and the truth with him. And I started to study more. I started to, basically, like I said, getting more understanding. You know, I said that the revelations that he was trying to show me were starting to come to me as I was reading his word, his Torah. You know, Bereshith, Shemuth, Wawikwa, Bidmar, uh, Bed Midbar, which is Numbers, and Dabarim, which is Deuteronomy. And I was not only inspired to read the Brit Hadashah, the New Testament, but also the Old Testament, the Tanakh, everything. I wanted it all, right? And it was amazing because I started to see, what the covenant was, what the commandments were, what um, the stories of the scriptures were, which in the modern day circ, CHURCH is, they don't tell you these things. And uh, it was just an amazing time because I was, I don't know, I think I was up to super late hours in the night just reading and praying, and there was a lot of times even where I was trying to find information on the internet because I wanted to see if there were other people like me. I wanted to see if other people had awakened and saw the lies of the world and was starting to search and seek for the truth. And there were some people, I had to get away from at certain points because I believe their doctrine was not right. And but it was amazing because I got to learn as I was being washed, as I was being cleaned. So there was a point where in my studying, I was kind of struggling with not understanding, a lot of Paul's writings, and just, there was this uh, situation with the commandments where I wasn't quite sure about what to keep, and if the law was, which really is the instructions of Yah, were supposed to be kept, and all these things, right? And I was still confused with a lot of this Christianity stuff. But the greatest thing is, though, I was learning, I never really had too much of the brainwashing from, I grew up with, my dad being a Christian, my, my family being certain aspects of that, but I never really was, you know, deceived into, understanding all these things. Um, like the doctrines, right? So it was great because I was starting to learn it for myself. I didn't have a lot of voices in my head of what I should believe. And so let me check my notes here. So I was shown Matthew 13, the sower and the seed, the wheat and the tares, on the media, when they were misleading and telling people about the JAB and the VAC, and trying to get people to take it, and even the thing that they were testing people with. And I never did either of those things because I knew that it was not for me. I felt I was being protected actually by and through the Talahim 91, Psalms 91. And I just saw that they were pushing so many more lies, and they started pushing the abomination. There was so much confusion in the earth, and um, so many were deceived. And I started to see the truth of the lawlessness of the system, the just corruptness of all of the system that was in front of us, that we were living in. And I was being shown to unplug and come out of her, my people, like it says in Revelation 18:4. And I feel that this was such a learning time for me. I was learning from the Ruach HaKodesh. He was showing me the things that were important in his word. And before I tell you some really interesting things that happened to me on this walk. Uh, I wanted to say that while I was in Hawaii, I did at one point, not fully understand about the Torah. I didn't understand, but I soon came to realization of it. Actually, even before, uh, I ended up going to this local CH, URCH, and before I went to this place, though, I found a video of another believer, a lady that lives here in Oregon, and she helped me with her video to realize that the law had not been done away with, and the commandments had not been done away with, and that what the truth about what was really nailed to the cross, sin and death, the dogmas of men, and that video really showed the truth about Colossians and just helped me so much. And once I learned about the Torah and about his instruction and about his laws and his commandments that we should keep them, I was so just in love with the word. I was so in love with the word. So that was a big step for me too, because there was a time when I was struggling with it, but I overcome it. And I think this is part of what happens. If you are diligent to seek his word, he will give you a little bit at a time until you're ready for it, and then all of a sudden he will just help you to understand these things. And that's what happened to me. So uh, yeah, the CHURCH and how I got into that. This is when I didn't understand, and I was still not realizing that I needed to come out of these places. I went from doing studies of the scripture in my house to wanting to go to an assembly, but it wasn't because I really wanted to learn more from them. It's because I wanted to see if people were talking about the thing that was going on, the the abomination that they were putting in everyone. And so a lot of them were talking about this, and they understood and stayed away from it, and others did take it. But I realized when I was there, because I mean, it was a non-denominational CH, and the reason I wanted to go there at first was because I wanted to be, well, back then it was called baptized, but it was immersed. And I have since been immersed in Yahushua. But at that time, I was there for about 4 months. And during that 4 months, I did get immersed, but I made some friends. I ended up having even Bible studies at my house with about 8 or 9 men each time, once a week, because they had saw that there was such a uh, like moving in me. After they heard my testimony, they were amazed, because they felt that the Ruach is really moving in Brian, because he just had this experience. And I was sharing dreams with them, which I will share with you later here, and some other things. But uh, a lot of the men's group Bible studies we had, though, I wanted to talk about the Old Testament, the Tanakh and the Torah. And they always wanted to talk about the New Testament, or the renewed covenant. And I was seeing so much in Ezekiel and, Jeremiah, Yirmiyahu, and all of these. And it was like they didn't understand a lot of those things. I mean, they had read some of them, or maybe all of them, I'm not sure. But it's like they did not receive the prophecy of the warning, of what was being said, like like Yirmiyahu 23, right? And so there was those studies for a while, and then those men's groups broke up. And I started to get convicted that I wasn't really wanting to be at this place anymore, because this assembly, because they still celebrated Xmas and Ishtar and, you know, Halloween and all these things, and I was like not wanting to do those things. I hadn't actually done those things for a long time. Even before I was awakened to the truth, I just thought they were man-made traditions and I didn't want to do them. And my children and I were not doing them. So praise Yah that he was already waking me up before I even was, brought to the truth. But I remember having arguments or, debates over the phone with the pastor, you know, and I just didn't agree with him because what he was saying didn't line up with scripture. And then um, there was one time after about 3 or 4 months that I stopped going there. And at the time, my girlfriend at the time was going with me, here and there. And then I just stopped, and then she was going by herself. And then all of a sudden, uh, I just felt like this place is not for me. Like they have everything and they're in error, right? It's the lawless church, And so I basically went one day because I was like, well, I just went for my girlfriend in a way because she wanted to go. Well, when I was there, I had this experience where um, they had come up to greet me because I hadn't been there a while, thinking that I had come back, like I had left them and that I came back. And so I was shaking the hands of a few of the members and people there. And then all of a sudden, I remember feeling this heavy, heavy feeling of like a sick feeling, or like an evil ruach oath had been upon me or around me. And it was weird. I didn't know what it was at the time, but I remember sitting down and feeling like kind of sick or something, like, you know, I had protection and then like there was some kind of sickness that was around me trying to get to me or something, or an unclean spirit, or maybe just simply that the Ruach HaKodesh that was with me was not happy that I was there, and the Ruach was removing himself from that place, which was a place of lawlessness, right? Is where they use the name of Jesus and Lord and all those things. And we know that the Most High does not dwell in places made with men's hands. And a lot of the people that were there were in lawlessness, right? And Yahuwah was showing me that I needed to come out. I needed to come out of it. And so, needless to say, I never went to that place again after that experience. But I remember feeling his ruach right after I got out of that place. When I sat in my vehicle, I was telling my ex-girlfriend about it, and I said, yeah, there's something wrong, and I just don't want to go here anymore. And so a little after that, I started to talk about things with my ex-girlfriend and saying, we either have to get married or we have to depart from each other because we're not married and we can't live together. So I was convicted to change that. Now, we had been together off and on for like 8 years after I had been through my divorce with my ex-wife, and she knew my children. She was actually a really great person. But I just didn't feel in my heart that I was meant to get married to her because she was kind of going in a different spiritual path than I was. And so it took about 2 or 3 months before she finally moved out. And we're still friends to this day. But what happened was, I'm going to tell you some things that happened when she was there because it's important, I feel, as part of my testimony. She was a local Hawaiian girl, very giving and very kind. She had, also a tough side, and she could get very angry at times. But overall, she was a very giving person. And so uh, before she moved out, there were many times when she would come home and she would see me, just studying until late at night, 12 o'clock at night. She would come out, I think 11:30 from like a sushi restaurant that she worked at. And I remember one night she came into the room where I was studying. It was like an office that I had for my business, and I used to study in there on the computer. She just like unleashed on me and was like, "Why are you always in here?" and was very mad at me for studying all the time. And I think, maybe she thought I wasn't paying attention to her, but a lot of times when she would come home, it would be like almost time to go to sleep. But she was very stressed, and I saw something in her that I never thought I would see. And I don't think it was her, honestly. I think it was something else that was there trying to be against me. Uh, Basically, like an evil rule coat. And so it started a big yelling and fighting match, not physical, but uh, the whole point is that I knew that this situation wasn't um, working out, and I wanted to live clean. I wanted to live right in Yahuah, and I didn't want to, live in any kind of sin because I had been changed, right? And so this is the process, he has mercy with us, that he allows us to make these corrections in our lives. And this is exactly what was happening to me. At the same time, I was going through spiritual battles, you know? And so I'm gonna tell a little story about what happened one evening uh, when I was sleeping, and she was there. She actually witnessed this because she was next to me. I basically had this dream that uh, at first I was flying over a road, which was actually right here where I live now in northern CA. And I remember all these children below me, and they were running below me, and I remember flying, and I remember saying to the children, just come up, you can do it, you can fly with me. And they're like, no, we don't know how. And they were trying to follow me, and I was just, for some reason, I thought everyone should be able to fly. So the dream started out kind of really two, which means good at the beginning, and then all of a sudden, um, I remember looking towards this house that I'm in now, and I saw this cloud, and I just knew that it was something bad. So I went into this cloud or whatever it was, and I remember immediately I saw this evil man, evil Ruach Koth or something, with red eyes and red teeth, and it was trying to bite me. And uh, I feel that what was really happening in my dream was that I was being attacked in real life also too, because in the spiritual, because uh, while this was happening, I was calling out in the name of Yahusha. Well, at that time it was Jesus, because it was by habit. I said that, and uh, but I knew he had come into my life, and I remember rebuking this, and I couldn't breathe. I was actually I was sleeping, but I was like having a hard time breathing, and I remember trying to push this thing away. And shortly after that, I woke up, and um, my girlfriend at the time looked at me, and she's like, "Wow, what just happened? You were like yelling at me." And I was like, "I was yelling at you?" It's like, "No, I was just sleeping." She's like, "No, I felt you were cussing at me and yelling at me, and you were breathing hard, and you basically were rebuking something." And I said, "Yeah, I was rebuking something that was in my dream." And she really thought that it was towards her. And so it was very interesting because maybe it was something that was next to her and me, or you know, it was Yah telling me that um, I couldn't be in the same place with someone that wasn't um, in the understanding that I was in, and starting to go on the path that I was going in. And so it was just more proof that I had to leave. I had to separate from this situation, and it was a hard thing to do because um, it took a while. It took a while to get this separation, and there were some other dreams that happened after that. But before I tell the next dream, uh, I want to say that while all this was happening, I was doing sometimes construction and cabinetry out in the field. I was working for some other people, uh, and I was I was so in love with Yahusha that I was sharing all that I knew with people. I was praying for people on job sites. I was like, he put the Basora inside me to share, you know, and I was passing out scriptures on job sites, and I even had this thing where I used to take wrapped Bible scriptures, and I would put a little note on them, and I would set them at like random places, like scenic views, and then I would come back in a few minutes to see if somebody had taken them. I actually witnessed people taking them sometimes, and it was only the King James version, but it was still at that time that was my understanding of like, okay, well, it was the cheapest one that I could give away. It was like $5 or $6 you know, each one, and I think I bought a case of like 24 of them, and I was just passing them out. And so it was kind of like my time of my ministry starting, and uh, I was just so passionate about His Word, and I still am. And so during that time, I was working for these people that were 7-day Adventists, and I was always trying to, show them the truth, and I started to study into all those different types of theologies and understanding, so that I could at least understand when I went to people how to speak to them and how I felt the scriptures showed that they were in error, you know. And so that was beneficial because Yahuwah was really showing me the the errors in so many religions, and so I started to know that in order to follow him rightly, you had to follow him in his word, keeping the commands and doing what the commands and what his word says, walking the narrow path, uh, learning of him, the way, the truth, and the life. I was led later on to not call myself an ex-Jin, to basically leave all of that behind in every way, because at one point I didn't know that there was a separation happening in me. I didn't know that I was supposed to completely come out of any other kind of understanding. And praise Yah that I was able to see how people have been deceived to worship a false God, right? With these names, with Lord and with Jesus, and learning the Father's name, the Abba's name, and the Ban Son's name was so crucial and important to me. I when I found that, I was like, I knew it was his true name. I knew it in my heart. I could just feel it. It was given to me. And, you know, even fast forward to now, I look at the Abrit and the Paleo, um, as something that is so important for us to go back to, because it really is so simple and there's so much meaning in it. And I believe that he will restore all things to us, right? Even our speech, Zephaniah 3:9. And so with that being said, uh, passing out things at job sites and talking to people, uh, then, a lot of other things that were happening to me were, let me see my notes here. Just I started to realize that, he was really leading me to come out of this system, out of this world, and to unplug. And eventually I was going to move away from Hawaii, but I didn't know it. I was starting to meet people online. We were starting to have Shabbat gatherings, and I was keeping the Shabbat now, of course, keeping the commandments. And I started to realize that there's so many people out there that are experiencing the same thing. Well, it wasn't so many, it was actually few, but I was finding people that were waking up, like me. And uh, actually, before I go into the next part, what I want to share was that some of the major things that I really loved about finding out the truth at the beginning was, I'm just going to share some scriptures with you, and you can go and research them. I know that many of you already know them. Keeping tassels, keeping and making tassels, tzitzit, right? This is just one of them I have. I have a few that are on. But in Numbers 15:37 through 41, it tells us about that we should do this, and we should keep this, because we are to remember his commandments, and it's really so important, uh, just as a symbol of our commitment to him too. And a lot of people, it's great about the tzitzit is a lot of people notice them and ask about them. Not everyone, but there are some people that have asked about them. And so that was something that I really enjoy making and doing. And then the subject of keeping the commandments was major for me, right? I mean, that's still to this day, it's one of the most important things in this walk. You could go to Exodus 20, of course. One of my favorite, Dabarim 5 and 6. And, Yehukanan, John 5:3. Yehukanan, John 2, 3 through 5. And 2 John 1:6. And of course, you have Matith Yahu 5:17 through 20, which is so important. Think not that I came to destroy the law. I did not come to destroy, but to fulfill. And Matith Yahu 22:36 through 40, where the lawyer asks the Mashiach, what is the greatest commandment in the Torah? And Yahusha answered in verse 37 through 39, right, that we should love our Alua with all our heart, mind, soul, and strength. And the second is like unto it, love your neighbor as yourself. And all the Torah hangs off of these. And one of my favorite also is Yehukanan 15:9 through 17, talking about the commandments. And for those of you that may not know about keeping the commandments, I encourage you to go to Hazon, Revelation 12:17, where it talks about those who keep the commandments and have the testimony of Yahushua, right? And also 14, Revelation, which is Hazun 14:12, and Revelation 22:14. Now, these are just a few places, but because of the sake of time, I'm just giving you the scriptures so that you can go and see them and reference them. But it is all about his word. It's all about having a relationship with him and following in the narrow path, right? And I am so pleased, and I give all kabadu, which is esteem, to Yahusha for coming and being a living sacrifice for us, and just being there to be our example, right? And laying himself down for us so that we can walk in him and keep his commandments. And he is the way, the truth, and the life, everyone. And it is so beautiful when you start to understand how just amazing and precious this is, that we have been given this chance to be awakened and to come out of sin and transgression, to be forgiven for those things that we have done, right? And to learn how to walk in his ways, in his commandments, his precepts, his laws, and his statutes through his instruction. It's the most beautiful thing. And so I want to now share a little story of a dream that I had. And I know this is going to take a long time. So I'm going to try to go through this last part because there's something that I need to talk about with what happened to me after I came to Northern California, when I moved away from Hawaii. So I had this dream where I was in the clouds seeing this island or something. And I remember seeing this person on the beach. And I didn't know at the time that it was my son. I felt like I was in the sky looking down. And I remember seeing my son walking on the beach. And as I came to zero in on who the person was, I realized it was my son. And I was really saddened in this dream. I remember seeing that he was very sad and he was confused or lost. And as a dad, I was very sad with that. And I was like, I don't want my son to feel that way, you know? And in the dream next, I saw all this island or this land where it was like a sunny day and trees everywhere. And it seemed to be all right. But there was like this destruction about to happen, where there was these big monster trucks and tanks and things all around this town. And they were about to come down and destroy the town. Like it was the end times, or it was like, destruction was coming. And these tanks and these things, these armies or whatever it was very scary. And I just saw that my son was over here at the beach. I don't know what happened to him, but he was all confused. And then it panned up and I saw what looked like these huge platforms. They looked like arcs in the sky. And I remember seeing 2 or 3 of them, and there was people being put on them that were being saved. Now, I didn't understand it. I didn't know if it meant, um, the time of gathering, or what most people would think it was, like some kind of rapture, which is, I don't believe in the rapture, and it's not scriptural. So this dream to me just let me know that I feel that there was something coming. And I remember feeling that I just knew that these people that were um, being put on these arks were being saved, were being preserved. Maybe it was the new Jerusalem that I was seeing. I'm not sure, but it was a very vivid dream, and so I just wanted to share that because still to this day I feel like, saddened in my heart that my son was feeling alone and confused at that time, and I didn't know what happened to him at the end of the dream. I didn't see my daughter in this part of the dream, so that's also something that I think about. But now I'm going to share when I moved to Hawaii and why I was led to do so. So, what happened was I started to feel in Hawaii that everything was so expensive, and I was paying for this house, 3-bedroom house. My children were already living with their mother because of all the false TRO and all these things that they had put on me had been taken away, and I was, you know, just basically um, living my own life and doing my own business, my woodworking business, and you know, I was lonely though because I was like just wanting my children to come back around, and they were not, and they were just kind of, anti-dad, and so I really feel that my ex-wife had a lot to do with that, and it really broke my heart. But maybe it was just a time where Yahuah was really trying to show me things, teaching me his word, but also at the same time, now I kind of feel like he was really uh, punishing me for the things that I have done in the past, right? I wasn't always perfect, right? There's things that I've done wrong too. But I have repented of all these things and asked for forgiveness. That's the main thing. And I started to uh, make friends here in the mainland, in uh, CA and other states. And I was just feeling led to be by my people. And so, with making some connections, I moved over here to where uh, my family lives. And I got rid of so many things in Hawaii. I mean, because I was just kind of struggling in the last months, even though I was making money, I had to get rid of so many things because I had a whole house full of all kinds of tools and things, and a lot of furniture and things that I didn't use anymore because my children weren't there. And so I I fought back and forth with it because I was like, I don't want to leave because what if I never see my children again, And it was a really hard time, but I ended up ultimately getting rid of things. I had garage sales. I actually sold so much, but I actually started giving away things too. Um, Things that were worth a lot of money, but I knew that Yahuah was showing me that I had to unplug. And it's not about the things, right? It's not about the possessions. And I feel that a lot of the things could have been idols. Like even, this big fancy truck that I had, I had to sell it and get rid of it. It was I only had it for like 4 years. And it was brand new, 2019 Dodge Ram, $52,000 vehicle. But he convicted me to get rid of this 50-inch TV. I'm sure I can get rid of the vehicle too. I started giving away so many things. I took things to so many different uh, places, where um, homeless people could use them and all kinds of things. But I was just giving away food. I was giving away furniture and clothes and just so many things. And it was all being done because Yahuwah led me to do so. And I actually felt joy in it. I felt joy in getting rid of all these things and unplugging from the system. And then eventually, a lot of this is on my channel, some of these things that I've shared with you. Eventually, I got on the plane and I moved to I flew over to California. Well, CA. I don't like to say California. But I moved over here, and it wasn't even a few months after I got here that uh, I fell into this situation with my two sisters where I think they were a bit jealous and angry that I was here because my mother was um, uh, I don't know. I think they thought that she had favoritism over with me or something, and I hadn't been around a long time, and they started to uh, get a little upset because I was removing some idols and things from this place, which my mother said I could do. There was a statue of um, a graven image and things I won't discuss, but the whole point was is that Yahuwah was really having me to come here to help my mother also because she fell sick and ill after about 2 months when I was here, and she almost, I feel, passed away because she was so sick. Uh, but in this, she was taken to the hospital by my sister without my knowledge. Really, she did end up telling me, but she didn't tell me at the time when she took my mother that she was um, filling out a will and testament and all these things, and without my knowledge, and it was a big thing. I'm not going to get into, but I felt like my sisters were against me, and without going through all the details, my mother ended up being healed, and when we come back to home, um, there was a lot of like fighting and things between my siblings and and I basically didn't want anything to do with it. So I had feelings of like, okay, I don't want to be here, but I ended up staying for my mother's sake, honoring our mother and our father, right? And they even turned against her at one point, and almost like she felt disowned her. I think it was because they were trying to make her, upset uh, because of me. It was just this weird bunch of events, and it's since gotten better. But I remember my mother feeling so saddened by what happened, and all I was really trying to do was help her out, but I was getting attacked for it. And so uh, I wanted to share that. But moving forward, she's doing all right now, and I don't have a lot of time to talk too much more about that. But I wanted to go through my notes here and talk about something that happened to me um, from that time. I ended up meeting some people and moving to Texas. But before I tell you that story, uh, I want to say that um, there's a lot of times in our walk where we make what we think is the right decision because uh, we're wanting to be by people. It's like one of my close friends said to me not long ago that we are like the sheep. We want to gather. The sheep want to be in herds, right? The goats want to be separated and by themselves. Well, I've always wanted to be by my people, and even in the scriptures, as it says, you know, our Yahusha prayed to Abba, wanting us to be one with him and wanting um, us all to be Ihad, which is one. And I believe that will happen. But I remember uh, just kind of leaning on what I wanted, even though I thought it was the right thing to do. I ended up going to um, be with some people in Texas because I drew really close to uh, to this person and her son, and it was a lot of learning for me. I mean, there was a lot of beautiful things in it, as far as like um, I saw the passion that they had for Yahusha, and I had met this person online in Hawaii in sort of a way through comments and things, but we had never really talked. And then what happened was um, I I came here to Northern CA and I started to learn more of this person, her, and I was really, really honestly just seeing so many similarities in what we believed, you know, what we were studying and what we were finding, because I was also led to see a lot of the things that she was shown through scripture about the VACC and all of those things. But uh, I was just tired of being here because I was like, you know what, I really don't want to be in this town anymore, and I wanted to move away from the family in a sense. But um, even though I received, I feel what was confirmations, I do feel that there were some warnings that I was getting to. So I was here for, I don't know, maybe about 8 or 9 months or so. I can't remember exactly. And then I moved to Texas. Some of you may have remembered this on my channel. And, you know, at the beginning, it was what seemed right. And it was very freeing to me in a way. And I was very much um, attracted to these people. And I felt like so much so that I was just being pulled to go there. And the idea was that we were going to build a community. We were going to build a um, a homestead, right, and have a farm and try to walk in the ways of Yahusha together. But what ended up happening was I ended up getting really close to this woman, and uh, still to this day I do care about her, and I know that everyone is trying to find the truth. But there are some times in our walk where we don't see the things that are in us that we need to work on and be delivered of. And I needed to be tested and um, just chastised even more and shown things. And this was something that Yahuwah, I feel, led me to do, or I shouldn't say he led me to do it. I went and did this, but I really wasn't supposed to go there. And it was later found out, I feel, that even by confirmations of others, that I made a mistake by going there, even though there were tube things, good things that happened. There was also a lot of, not so great things that happened. And like I said, there was a strong connection, but I found out that it was really difficult. It was really difficult um, to make this person happy, and so without getting too much into it, what I wanted to say is that um, I did make a video on this a little bit earlier about what happened in a sense, but I'm going to tell it in a different way. And I really feel that I was wronged in many ways, but I also feel that this was a huge awakening to me to teach me about the narcissism and the manipulation of others, just like I had went through with my ex-wife, and how I have always fallen for lack of better words, the beauty or the seduction or the um, uh, these qualities that are in women, right? And it was like a weakness for me, and it's embarrassing in a way to say it, but it's not, because this is my story. I learned that uh, we can learn so much from people, but we really have to know and understand who they really are. And I think we are all trying to uh, correct ourselves and live right and be right in the eyes of Yahuah. And so I still feel, and I pray to this day, that all of us will do that, even the people that are on the other side of this, that know this situation. My prayer is that, repentance will happen, forgiveness will happen, and um, healing will happen. But some of the things that happened to me when I was there, and I have to share this, is that um, there was an incident with their animal, their dog, which I thought was wrong in the way they um, said this happened. I didn't think it was the way that it should have been put on me. But I was being um, scratched at one point by one of their puppies, their dogs, and I got along great with their animals. But what ended up happening was I pushed the animal away, and it upset them. And maybe I did it in a more rough way in their eyes, but these were large animals. And I think it was because um, she was already upset at me because of some other things. And um, I'm not going to get into the details of why I think um, these things happened. But when this happened, um, they made me to feel really low, like I was an angry person, like I had anger issues, and I do not have anger issues. I've never had anger issues. I think she was trying to say that that's what I had with my children, was anger issues. I've always been a loving person. And yeah, I've been like any human, we've always had times when, we were upset at someone. But this is I feel, manipulation that some people will put on us, that they try to say that, well, it's you and not me, right? And so um, I felt that it was unfair. And even though I was sorry for what I did in their eyes, and they forgave me, it seemed, I still felt like there was, like I was walking on eggshells. Like there, at any moment, they could just um, say, "See, there's your anger again," or whatever. It's like they had me now. They felt like, oh well, you know, you're the one that has all the problems, and this sort of thing. So I remember feeling really low and upset about all of this. And fast forward to after about 2.5, 3 months of staying there, I had a job and I had some other things. For the most part, we were doing great. We were doing studies and we were getting along just great. And it was just siblings. It was just, brother and sister, and she had a son. But the interesting thing was that um, I was fasting one evening, and I believe she was fasting with me. She was actually in the kitchen cooking, and then she went to go and sit on the couch, and I was praying and palaling in my bedroom, and I just felt that there was something wrong. So I went to go and talk to her, and I asked her um, if there's anything I could do. Or she was upset, I felt, and I asked her if she was okay. Well, within a few minutes, this turned into, I feel, her getting very upset, and she started yelling at me um, things that I um, couldn't hardly believe. But again, painting the picture that it was me, when all I was trying to do was be um, caring and asking about her. This led to her telling me to move out right now, get out of my house, and she was kicking me out at that time. I was shocked, and I I was like, wow, I know that we're supposed to talk to each other when things happen and love your neighbor as yourself. And um, surely someone that is following in Yahusha wouldn't kick out another brother or sister that is following in Yahusha just for um, crazy reasons, right? But I didn't ask questions, and I just got up and I basically said, okay, I'm gonna gather my things. It was 9 o'clock at night, around sometime around then, and I was tired already. But I was like, well, I have to load up my truck, so it took me probably 2 or 3 hours to do that. And then I basically was in Texas, right? So I was 33 hours away from my own family, and I had to basically become homeless for a few days. The only thing I had was my truck, the things in it, and the job that I had just had for a few months. So I didn't even have a place to stay that night because I didn't have any money. Actually, I had been paying my bills, and I didn't have any money to get a hotel or anything. So I literally slept in my truck at the job where I was going to wake up the next morning and go to work. And I was sad in my heart because I did care, and I still do care for these people. But I was like realizing all the things that were wrong about this situation, and uh, not saying that I was perfect in going there or doing what was right, but I started to realize that the person that I had met in Hawaii, or actually started to get to know more when I was in Northern California, before I moved to Texas, I realized um, the person I thought this was and who they actually were quite different. And it really did affect me, and it really broke my heart because I was trying to be with my people. So the moral of this story, everyone, is that even after you come to the truth, there are going to be challenges. There are going to be things that happen to you that are going to be testing, that are meant to show you and to reprove you and to refine you. And at the same time, it's possible that it is meant to reprove and refine the other people that um, are involved in the situation. And I truly hope that that is the case. This is not a video of the testimony to condemn others. This is a video of what happened to me. And what led me to do this testimony is that I believe that healing can take place. And even in my own family with my children, I believe that, you know, they can be brought to the truth. I pray for them all the time that their eyes would be awakened and that they would know Yahusha. Uh, and there were some other things that happened when I was in Texas that were quite disturbing, but I'm not going to get into them. But what I will say is that uh, when I had to move back to Northern California, it was one of the most lowest times in this walk for me because I felt so low that I had just made even a bigger mistake. I had saved up all this money to get away and go over there, and then I was within a few months coming back. And I was heartbroken, really, because what I thought was not what I found to be true over there. And uh, still to this day, it saddens me, but I know that all this was meant to teach me also a big lesson of, not just trusting in everything and everyone else, but trusting only in Yahusha. And that I can't just go and do what I want to do. I have to follow in His will, His way. We have to put Him first, everyone. And we don't want to go to the left or the right in this walk. We must walk straight to Yahusha and give everything to Him. And I want to share a scripture before I leave here and I forget, because I believe I put this up earlier, but I just wanted to say that the heavier matters of the Torah is what we must do, and that is to love, right? To love as Yahusha loved, loving your neighbor as yourself, loving your Creator with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. And even in Leviticus, which is Wawikwa, um, it says in Leviticus 19:33 through 34, and if a stranger sojourn with you in your land, ye shall not vex him. But the stranger that dwells with you shall be unto you as one born among you. And you shall love him as yourself. For you were strangers in the land of Mitzrayim. I am Yahuwah al-Haikam. So, we should be loving our neighbor as ourselves. We should be keeping those that come to sojourn with us, accepting them, caring for them, and we should be forgiving if things happen, right? We should be forgiving 70 times 70, as it says in the scripture, right? And in the Torah, it tells us to bring an issue to your brother, your sister. And I feel I have done this, but we don't always get answers back. We don't always get the other person coming to say that they're sorry, or to say that, hey, I did wrong in this situation too. And so it is possible, my friends, Mishpaka, that we can make mistakes even after coming to the truth, because we are being refined. And this is why, a little fly in here, this is why I want to share this, because if we live by the Torah, if we live by the instructions, I believe that we will automatically treat others correctly. We, after all, are here to walk as Yahushua walked and to do as he has done. So it's not about what you know. It's not about how much you know more than the other person, or what calendar you observe, or um, your better understanding of what you think the scripture says. What's really happening here is uh, our Creator gave us the covenant and gave us the instructions to have a relationship with Him and to honor, just like a marriage proposal. We have the commandments and we must keep them. But if we are not loving our brother as ourselves and our sister as ourselves, if we are not treating others um, the right ways, we are no better than the Pharisees of old, right? And it says in the scriptures that unless your righteousness surpasses that of the Pharisees, you will by no means enter into the Shamayim. So my journey is all about trying to spread the word the best way I know how, and with the ability that He's given me. But we have to realize in this walk that it's all about Him. It's all about keeping His commandments and His ways. So with that being said, everyone, I think I've done well enough with sharing this story, and I've kept you on here for an hour and 22 minutes so far. Uh, and I pretty much went through my notes. I know there's so much more of these stories we can tell, but I believe that this is the story that I needed to share. And my encouragement to each and every one of you would just be uh, not to focus so much on your will or what you believe you should do, but focus on Yahusha and His will. Focus on um, esteeming Him in everything that you do. Walking in the way that He would have you to walk. So I thank you so much for watching this testimony, and I pray that we will all be cleansed of these things that we have experienced and done to one another, or even to ourselves. You must also forgive yourself. I'm learning to forgive myself, which is hard, for the things that I have done and said, and to Yahusha and even to other people. But this is the testimony of Yahusha. This is all about how He has made me to go through all these experiences, because I'm still to this day learning of Him. I'm learning of myself, of how to walk rightly. And I love each and every one of you. And I want us all to be in the Shamayim together. And everything that we've done and said will be weighed and revealed. And I just want you all to know that I forgive you. I forgive myself. And now it is time for us all to walk in the ways of the commandments and just be about his business. That's what this is all about. Enduring to the end and being about the Abba's business. Like the parable of the prodigal son, I believe that we will come back and be with our Abba. And he will kiss us on the neck. And it'll be a beautiful thing. So with that being said, everyone, I thank you for watching this. And please like and share it. I hope that it is something that helped or moved you. You know, some part of this may help you. If it just helps one person, I feel I've done my job. So until next time, everyone, Shabbat Shalom, or Shalom, I should say. Tomorrow is actually Shabbat, but Shalom. All right. See you again.